And good morning, everyone. 3 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock here at Easy 100.1, Jackson's true community radio station. I'm Jack Criss. This is Profiles Mississippi Radio, which airs every Tuesday here at Jackson's only community radio station. We're glad to have you with us today. We hope you had a good weekend and a good Monday. And we're going to start things off, hopefully, having a good Tuesday here on the show today. I've got a few announcements a little later on in the program, but as I have been advertising now, I guess you can say you advertise on Facebook, because Facebook has become such a hugely popular social internet network that you can post just about anything you're doing. And we utilize, Profiles Mississippi Radio utilizes Facebook. And as we've announced, our guest in the studio with us today, we're pleased to have Dr. Robert Mcelvaine, who is a local professor of history, chairman of the Department of History at Millsaps College, author of numerous books, and a regular contributor to the Huffington Post. And Dr. Mcelvaine, I guess you've done a lot of things over your career, have you not? That's just scratching the surface.
Yes, I've done a lot of things, but there's no need to do any more than scratch the surface, I think.
Well, of course, I guess this appearance on Profiles Mississippi Radio, we can say, is the pinnacle of your career thus far.
Absolutely the highlight, yes.
Thank you so much. We'll get that check to you. Now, you're the author of, what, 4 or 5 books now?
10, actually.
Well, you know, I think your bio on the college website may have left a few off. Your most recent, though, is Grand Theft Jesus, The Hijacking of Religion in America, which has just been released in paperback.
That's right.
We've got a lot to talk about. Obviously, people who read you and who know your columns through the Clarion Ledger and Huffington Post know you're an outspoken political commentator, and we want to go into some of the things you're outspoken about. But let's talk about the book first, Bob, if you will. This is an interesting twist, Grand Theft Jesus. It's not your typical book about religion. Give us in a nutshell what this book is about and what prompted you to write it in the first place.
Well, what it's about is the sort of people, particularly televangelists, but a number of other preachers, particularly in the sort of non-denominational mega churches that have become so common in the last decade, who are, seems to me, basically many of them talk about being biblical literalists and taking everything literally in the Bible. However, it seems like they don't pay any attention to anything Jesus said. They basically are out there telling people, you really don't have to do much of anything. You just say you believe in Jesus, and Jesus will make you rich. And all of this is essentially 180 degrees, or maybe 179.5 degrees away from what Jesus actually said. They're preaching what I call Christianity light, all one word, L-I-T-E. I call it that because it's like plans to lose weight without diet or exercise, be saved without sacrifice or good works. And I think it's really dangerous. I think it has essentially turned the teachings of Jesus on their head. And through humor in the book, it's angry, but it's also always the anger is cloaked in humor, trying basically to get people back to what I think really are the teachings of Jesus.
Do you regard the Christian light segment, as you call these type of people, is this dominant now in Christianity, do you think?
I don't know whether it's dominant. Where it is dominant is in media portrayals of Christianity, the sort of people, and this goes back probably 20 years, that usually are brought on to network or cable news shows as spokespeople for Christianity, are usually the sort of people who are televangelists, part of the religious right, and those are the sorts of people who, seems to me, basically pay no attention to what Jesus said.
So you wouldn't see someone like, Reinhold Niebuhr on television today, would you?
Maybe on public television or something, but not on the mainstream.
You know, one thing that strikes me about your book is that it's very, could we say acerbic? It is humorous, but I'm wondering, do you think any of the Christian light types out there will change their mind, or are they going to read the first few pages and say, oh, this man's a heathen, he's making fun of me, I don't want to pursue this any further?
Well, I'd like to try to draw a distinction between the people who are the leaders of this movement and the followers, because I think the followers are people who really want to be good Christians, who want to be following Jesus, and they have been misled by these charlatans. And so my hope is, and I say early in the book, that some of these people may not like some of the things I'm saying, but to hear me out, to see what I have to say, and if they do that and compare what I'm saying with what the sorts of preachers I'm talking about are saying, I think, and then compare that with what Jesus actually said in the Gospels, I think they'll see that what I'm saying is much closer than what the preachers are saying.
You're listening to Profiles Mississippi Radio. I'm Jack Criss, your host. I'm also the publisher of Profiles Mississippi magazine. And of course, our magazine features Robert Mcelvaine as one of our contributing writers. We're discussing Bob's latest book, Grand Theft Jesus, The Hijacking of Religion in America, which is recently out in paperback. Let me ask you this, because a lot of people know you are very outspoken in your political views. If one logically follows the conclusions in Grand Theft Jesus, will it necessarily follow or lead to a certain political viewpoint, or do you keep the wall up between state and church, as it were, in your conclusions?
Well, I would certainly want to keep the wall up between state and church. I think I think it's quite possible to. Certainly, if you read the whole Bible, there are so many contradictions, and I think, incidentally, that's one of the problems, that taking parts of the Old Testament, particularly in the early part of the Old Testament, literally, it seems to be the only thing that some of these people are interested in. And of course, even when it comes down to that, they are ignoring what is said in the Gospels. In some Bibles, the words of Jesus are written in red. But as I say, in Grand Theft Jesus, to many of these people, it seems the red lines are the unread lines. They pay no attention to that, but they go back and pick out something out of Leviticus. But even when they're going into the Old Testament, there are, I believe, 613 laws in the Old Testament, and they only follow 3 or 4 of those, even much less following what Jesus said. And so it's
what's convenient for them?
What's convenient, right? And so you can justify almost anything, especially if you take the whole Bible. I think if you just look at what Jesus said, it leads you more in a certain direction.
Should we be clear, I suppose, that you're writing this from a Christian perspective? You yourself are a practicing Christian, are you not?
Yes, I am, although the word has been so tainted. I have a friend who's a Methodist minister who years ago, probably 15 or 20 years ago, said he was beginning to think he didn't want to be called a Christian because the people who were labeled Christians were these religious right people, and he didn't want to be associated with them. I'm not prepared to cede the word just yet, but what I would prefer to be called is a Jesus follower, that is, someone attempting to follow the teachings of Jesus. That ought to be a Christian, but it's not quite what many people who call themselves Christians are.
And so given that, we can distinguish Grand Theft Jesus from the plethora of books that have become bestsellers lately, such as Sam Harris, his book Christopher Hitchens, some well-known atheists who are making a case against Christianity, but from a non-believing viewpoint. That's not your position.
Not my position. Definitely different. Unfortunately, they are bestsellers. Maybe that should be my position from a commercial point of view.
What has the reception been thus far? Have you gotten a reaction from the fundamentalist or the Christian-like community? Has a review surprised you? Have people gotten it, or let's talk about a general reception?
Well, unfortunately, there hasn't been that much of a reception. Most of it has been good. The sort of people who I am criticizing in the book, for the most part, don't seem to be aware of its existence, or maybe decided that they wouldn't publicly criticize it so they wouldn't bring any attention to it. But I haven't heard a whole lot from them, a few, but for the most part I haven't.
Well, have you thought about going door to door, get on a bike? And, I mean, that's it could be a publicity stunt, who knows? It's 12 after the hour of 10, Profiles Mississippi Radio. Yeah, I'm Jack Criss here on Easy 100.1, Jackson's community station. Dr. Robert Mcelvaine is our